but in the middle of your speech, and you can call me out on being a liberal snowflake or whatever about my feelings, but then you, in the middle of your speech, I think this was hate speech, you made fun of transgenders. Well,
I made fun of one person who grabbed me by the back of the neck and threatened me with violence, to be fair.
I mean, yes, but also Caitlyn Jenner, and you seem to be making, You were clearly making jokes at the expense of transgender people. So my question is, where do you draw the line between being a mensch and clearly offending people? Like, where do you draw the line?
Okay, so for me, if I coldly and clearly state a fact and you're offended by the fact, that's not me being responsible for offending you. That's me saying a fact and you being offended. As far as me making jokes about Zoe Tur, my general rule is that if somebody grabs me by the back of the neck and threatens me with violence on national television, I have the right to make fun of them. That's just as when I was at University of Wisconsin, if people are going to chant at me and yell at me, then I'm not going to treat them with courtesy because they are not deserving of courtesy. Courtesy is something that you earn by being courteous.
Okay, fine. I understand that, but it just seems a little bit hypocritical to brag about the fact that you openly humiliated someone on national television while also telling people to be mensches. I just think that's a little.
Well, I mean, let's put it this way: my belief is in mutually assured destruction. So if you're going to, if you attempt to again do me physical harm on national TV, then I'm not going to treat you with a level of respect that you have not earned. I mean, I'm treating you with respect, and we disagree, right? Because you're courteous. So thank you for that. I'll tell you a story. I don't know how many of you have seen this on CNN Headline News. I had exactly this debate on Dr. Drew's show a few months ago. It was about 3 months ago. And it was I think, the number 1 story on Facebook and Twitter for about 3 days. Because this is why they don't have me on CNN that often. They were talking about Caitlyn Jenner. And the question of the day was why Caitlyn Jenner should or should not receive the ESPN Courage Award. Because, as we all know, the courage to have a boob job, make millions of dollars off of it, have a mental illness that's exploited by television cameras is exactly the same as the courage it took for men to get off boats at the beaches of Normandy on D-Day. I mean, courage is courage, guys. So they had me on this. They had me on this show, and they decided that they were going to seat me directly next to a transgender woman, meaning a man who is delusional and thinks he's a woman. And so I'm sitting next to this dude whose name is Zoe Tur. His former name is Bob Tur. And he's sitting next to me, and this topic comes up. And what I said, they were going around discussing whether or not Caitlyn Jenner was courageous or not courageous. And finally, I just said, I don't understand why we're all humoring mass delusion. Why is the public humoring a delusion? It's not kind to the mentally ill. It's terrible for the mentally ill. As somebody whose grandfather was schizophrenic, it would have been really, really quite terrible if the entire society had said to him, you know what, Nate, you're totally right. The radio is talking to you, right? It wouldn't have been beneficial to him. It was much more beneficial to him that he was institutionalized, given lithium, and then healed, basically, and was able to live a decent life. The idea that transgender surgery accomplishes anything for people who are quote-unquote transgender is nonsense. The suicide rates are precisely the same before and after the surgery, and they are both in excess of 40%, which is unbelievably high. The idea that society is responsible for transgender suicide is absolute garbage. It is not true. Okay, the fact is that even they've done polls of this. There was a poll from the Anderson School at UCLA, and they found that even transgender people who say they're not questioned about being transgendered, they have exactly the same rate of suicidality, meaning that this is a mental illness, because that rate of suicidality is so far beyond anything that has ever been experienced in any population of humans ever. Seriously, the only comparable rate of suicide to the transgender community today is Jews living under Nazi German rule. That is the only time in human history that there has been that rate of suicide. So I promise you, transgenders are not being treated like Jews under Nazi German rule, so it clearly is not societal impact that is making people suicidal. What's making people suicidal is that this is a mental illness, and it is barbaric to suggest that a man can become a woman and a woman can become a man with a snip of the knife. It's horrifying, and it is mutilation, and it is brutal. And the people who are pushing this have no sympathy for the people who are actually suffering from it. They're forwarding mental illness. They're forwarding mental illness to kids because they want to teach this to children now. And this is one where you're on, I mean, these people, it is unbelievable to me that the left suggests that we're the party of anti-science. Okay, they are the party of vaccines are bad and men can magically become women through some magic man-to-woman machine. Right? It's such utter nonsense. Every cell of Caitlyn Jenner's body has a Y chromosome, except ironically for his sperm cells. Right? So the idea that these are women is just it's utter tripe. And I have to say, I am enjoying a little bit how the transgender movement is destroying feminism. That's kind of fun, because the feminists have always argued that men and women are inherently different, right? Men and women are and women have a beautiful, unique thing to bring to the world. And then, of course, they say a bunch of other crap. But that's the part what they say is true. And now they're saying, but transgenderism says that men and women are exactly the same and can randomly shift. It's weird to hear Hillary Clinton, for example, say, Caitlyn Jenner is a beautiful, lovely woman, and then in the same sentence say, and we need a woman president. It's like, well, that's kind of weird. Why? If men and women are exactly the same, then why do we need a woman president? Right? Men and women are exactly the same. So if Barack Obama, without any changes to himself, but if Obama really wanted to jack her in this election, he would do that. He'd come out 2 days before the election and he'd say, I'm the first woman president. Right? And change nothing about himself, right? Because transgenderism suggests you don't have to make physical changes, you don't have to change your dress, you don't have to change anything. Right? If you just decide one day that if Charles Bronson one day decided to saunter on in, take off his gun belt, and mosey on in and sashay on in to the ladies' restroom for a little sitsy on the toilet, then he would be a woman. This is the way that this is. What I love about this particular debate is I think enough Americans are not insane that they will buy the argument that a man is a man and a woman is a woman, considering they have known this since they were small children. My daughter's 21 months old.
Caitlyn Jenner honored with the Arthur Ashe Courage Award at the ESPYs. Did she deserve it? Was it the right choice? Here she was last night on ABC. Take a look.
All across the world, at this very moment, there are young people coming to terms with being transgender. They're learning that they're different, and they're trying to figure out how to handle that on top of every other problem that a teenager has. They're getting bullied. They're getting beaten up. They're getting murdered. And they're committing suicide. But this transition has been harder on me than anything I could imagine. And that's the case for so many others besides me. For that reason alone, trans people deserve something vital. They deserve your respect. I'd like to thank, personally, my buddy Diane. So, you know, you can only tell your story the first time once, and Diane, you did it so authentically and so gracefully.
Joining me now in the audience, Shagun Oduolowu, entertainment journalist, Zoe Tur, pilot and reporter who herself is transgender, and Ben Shapiro, senior editor, Breitbart News, author of Bullies. Ben, did she deserve this award?
For what?
For courageously coming forward, for having been an athlete of great prowess and now fighting a new battle.
What exactly is the battle? I mean, self-definition is what you do, and my baby's doing it 18 months old. I wasn't aware that you get a medal for it.
Shagun?
I think she's a fraud. I thought the message and the messenger were wrong. I was in the audience at the ESPYs, and if you want to talk about courage, she said it herself in her speech that she retreated to her mansion in the Hill and was. Where was she in the 70s when the LGBT community was fighting for acceptance? Where was she in the 80s when the AIDS epidemic was ravaging the LGBT community?
She was hiding, feeling bad about being transgender.
Where was she in the 90s when shows like 90210, Melrose Place, and Will and Grace were bringing gay people to the forefront? Where was she in 2000s?
She couldn't come forward yet.
My thing is this. She's a 65-year-old rich white woman that decided to do this, but don't tell me you're walking in the truth for other transgender kids of color who don't have that war chest of money to get the surgery to look like she looks. They're not going to get the cover of Vanity Fair. So don't tell me that she is going to stand on the banks waving her hand as the beacon for transgenders when there's a river of blood of people that die.
Okay, regardless of who the messenger is, okay, whether you like it or her not, or think that this is an authentic person or not, or her intent, she is bringing a conversation to the forefront that is helping people better understand, not you, unfortunately, better understand the transgender community, have more empathy, have more tolerance, and that is saving lives. Because as she stated, there are so many transgender youths and adults that are victims of violence, that are beat up, that are bullied because of the discrimination. So thank God that now she is mainstreaming it so people can better understand it and have tolerance.
Sam, that's dead wrong.
Wait,
She lives in the most accepting city in the state. And go do that in Alabama.
You don't know what you're talking
be a hero. Be a hero.
Listen to Zoe. Listen to Zoe.
Zoe, go ahead.
Good try. You have to bifurcate it. Did she deserve the honor? Probably not. Is she brave? course she's brave. All those years invested as this sports legend. To come out transgender is horribly difficult. It is the most difficult thing you can do. I've been overseas. I've flown helicopter missions, surveillance missions. I've been shot, stabbed. Being brave is being yourself. And being transgender is about the bravest thing you can do. Did she deserve the award?
65?
Yes.
Why are we mainstreaming delusion?
It's not delusion.
Why would you call it delusion?
Because Caitlyn Jenner, I'll call him Caitlyn Jenner.
No,
because
it's her. You're not being polite to the pronouns.
Because
disrespectful.
Okay, forget about the disrespect. Facts don't care about your feelings. It turns out that every chromosome, every cell in Caitlyn Jenner's body is male, with the exception of some of his sperm cells. It turns out that his brain structure is male. It turns out that he still has all of his male appendages. How he feels on the inside is irrelevant to the question of his biological sex.
I don't agree with that. I'm not on that train. I'm not on that train. She wants to be called she. I'm going to call her she. I just have a problem with the message and the messenger.
So well, let's I'm going to do two things. I want to reiterate what Zoe said, which is the bifurcation of the courage to come forward after a lifetime as a male and a certain kind of a male versus did she deserve this award? Listen, awards, what are award ceremonies except an opportunity to catch some eyes?
Especially the ESPN.
So, yeah. It's like ESPN, well done, ABC. Yeah. They did exactly what their job was, attract eyes. They did it. That's what award ceremonies are for. But in terms of the science behind gender dysphoria, you're very familiar with that, Zoe.
Very familiar.
It's not about the chromosome. Excuse me, the chromosomes within our
both know
nuclei. Yeah, go ahead.
Chromosomes don't necessarily mean you're male or female.
Gender.
With gender
identity. Go ahead. No, so
especially, but even so, you have a thing like Klinefelter's syndrome. So you don't know what you're talking about. You're not educated on genetics.
Would you like to discuss the genetics?
No.
What are your genetics?
So let's stay away from the genetics and back to the brain scans.
You cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
Yeah, that seems mildly inappropriate for a political discussion.
No, I know. Well, but wait, to be fair, but to be fair, you're actually being kind of rude. And that's not fair.
I'm sorry, it's not rude to say that someone who is biologically a male is a male. Someone who is biologically male is a male.
But Mr. Shapiro, you knew very well that saying that to Zoe would be egregiously insulting.
It's not a matter of insulting or inflammatory.
It is.
It's a fact.
No, well,
you're a male. Dr. Drew is a male.
Sir, you're right. On paper, what is a fact is a fact, and I can't deny that. But you knew that going in that to saying that to Zoe would be aggressively insulting.
It's a matter of aggressively insulting.
It is.
The entire discussion is whether we are embracing mental illness and delusion as a society. That's the entire discussion.
No. But that's you're avoiding the fact. You're avoiding the fact. If you want to talk facts, you're avoiding the fact. You're not a dumb man. You knew that saying that to Zoe would be incredibly hurtful.
Stop it. Roll on the last word here. You haven't had a chance. And then
there's some very startling statistics that are out that say that 80% of us know somebody who's gay or bisexual or even transvestite or lesbian, but only 1% of us know somebody who is in transition. So this is a new discussion for us. A lot of it is very scary for a lot of people. But that's, I think, whether we agree with the whole Caitlyn transition or not, the reality is that we are in a state as humanity right now where we need to exercise a little bit more tolerance. We need to understand the things that we don't understand a bit more. Instead of making inflammatory comments, maybe we have a little bit more tolerance. That's what I think the strength
We'll keep this going. We'll keep it going, but later we're going to no aggression, no violence. We're going to Caitlyn Jenner. She was honored with the Arthur Ashe Courage Award last night at the ESPYs. There's speculation that the award was payback for having given Diane Sawyer her first interview with Jenner on ABC and ESPN are part of the same corporation, of course, the Disney family. And ABC tells Los Angeles Times, quote, there is absolutely no connection between the interview and the award. There's simply no truth to that claim. Back with Sam, Rolanda, and Mike, and in the audience, Shagun, Zoe, and Ben. All right, so, Zoe, you're in that piece, you're saying it wasn't a transgender going at their own pace. It was a product rollout. What are the liabilities to the human being, Caitlyn Jenner, as a result of being a part of this product rollout?
Well, you can't sustain that type of energy. You cannot sustain that type of fame. Things shift. You have to reinvent yourself. But I think at some point, this comes crashing down because along with all this, adulation and hype, eventually you find out that you're really in an existential crisis because what's my life really going to be like? Will it be You have to deal with people like this, the hatred, the people that, you know, that come out against you and say,
We're calling you delusional. It wasn't case. Hate.
yeah, that's hatred.
Okay.
This is just somebody that's
I don't hate you. I have sympathy for you. I feel terrible for you.
No, you do hate. You're consumed with hatred. That is who you are. You're a little man.
You know me?
You're a little man. Actually, I do.
Let's stick to the topic. Let's not these first.
But I mean, that's okay. He can be whatever he wants. But the point is,
right. That's what this is all about, isn't it?
It is. It is. But there's ramifications for hate speech. But the point is that.
Ramifications?
Let me finish.
Go ahead. Finish, Zoe.
Little boy.
Zoe.
Okay.
Zoe.
So I'm sorry.
It's all everybody.
Buttons are being pushed.
Go ahead.
The whole point is that Jenner will come crashing down.
Okay.
Because
well, like in other reality shows, Mike, I saw a Facebook post where there was 30 reality shows that contestants or participants who had died within a year or two of their shows, and I was scrolling through that on Facebook. Something like 85% of them was suicide.
Right.
It's incredible.
It's like kind of becoming the quarterback before you've ever even played football.
Yeah.
There's a definite kind of build up to getting that type of attention.
Well, and now this too, in the face of all these tremendous changes in who this person is and their life and their lifestyle, their family issues, all that is sort of now around this arousal of the.
Caitlyn's built for it. I really do. This is let's not forget, this is a world-class athlete who's dealt with pressure her entire life, who knows how to speak to herself and pump herself up, who knows the difference between perseverance more than any other person that's a non-athlete. I think that this is her mission in life. And if I could ask you, because I'm still harping on some of the things that you mentioned earlier.
Back to Ben.
To Ben, you come from, like, in your mind, a moralist, right?
No, I come from a basic biological reality.
But okay,
it's not a moral thing. If somebody wants to mutilate their body, that's their choice.
It's not mutilation, but can we just talk about
cutting off your testicles is mutilation?
Can we talk about
that's not actually what they do, though, right?
Okay, hold on.